hopping a hand for
Be careful.
and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement, yes.
Yeah, what do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end.
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care, as long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
And welcome once again. Thank you for those of you that are joining us live as we record here in the Acement. We love having you guys. Please interact with us if you're watching. Send us a question. Send us your favorite quote. Send us anything. Let us know you're there.
Finger.
Yeah, tell us to fuck off. We don't care.
We
Whatever
don't
you
care.
need.
Exactly.
Just let us know you're there. But thank you for joining us. If you haven't watched us live, we are now recording live. You have 2 chances to watch the recording now. Best thing to do is follow us on Facebook at Behind the Funny. You will get notified whenever we're going to be recording live, and you can have a chance to watch and interact with us. And we'd love to have you on board. If you are listening, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And another way to help out the podcast is, of course, the 5-star written review.
5-star written review.
Yes.
Doesn't have to be long. Just, hey, love this show.
Yep. All it has to be is all 5 stars at once.
All 5 stars at once. We
Not 1 star a week for 5 weeks.
That's right. We appreciate that person
5
that
stars
tried.
all at once.
But yeah, that's it. And listen, we also have a Patreon page. So if you would like to be a patron, go to patreon.com/behind the funny, and very, very simple, one giving level. It's $5 a month. So,
and coming up, we're going to add
Extra
some
content.
behind the scenes extra content type of things on there.
Yeah.
And right now there is 1 episode up there, and I prepped the Frank Santarelli episode because you hear him at the beginning during our intro.
That's right. Saying that, how about a hand for Ace Aceto and Scott Higgins? Both of them coked up out of their minds. That came from that episode.
That came from that episode. So we're gonna put that episode up there for you guys to listen to. And Ace and I, every once in a while, are gonna pick one of the ones from the past that aren't downloadable anymore for you guys, and we're gonna throw it up there so that you can download it. And that's the only place that you can get it is through our Patreon page. So
all kinds of cool shit.
Absolutely.
And
our bourbon date this week.
Yes, our bourbon date this week is our old reliable Jefferson's. We're going to drink Jefferson's anyway, and then our guest,
which I would like to nominate for permanent third mic because he comes bearing gifts
every time. I know. We haven't had him on since season 1 or 2. And we've been talking about him for a while. We're like, we got to get Howie back on, not because he brought something, but I want to check in with him and see how he's been doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's just the icing on the cake, Howie. Yeah. We enjoy the cake, but the icing just makes it that much better.
That's right.
I have to have people like me. That's
you can pull that closer.
Yeah, we're doing it.
We're all.
I'm new to microphones.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, we're all comedians. We beg for people to love us every week.
Every week, please love me. Please laugh at me. Please. Yeah. So our guest is Mr. Howie Mason. Welcome, Howie.
Thanks for having me back
to the studio.
Good to see you guys.
Yes, but anyway, welcome, Howie. Thank you so much for coming in. How you been busy doing shows lately?
Yeah, we've had a pretty good run.
Yeah,
it seems to have finally gotten back to that feel of the pre-pandemic times.
Yeah, exactly.
Last year was kind of started off slow and finished okay. This year, came out of the gates pretty good, and it seems to be. Still,
momentum is still rolling. Although I just had one canceled, but anyway, let's have fun.
You know what? But I the way I look at it is I had that happen occasionally, even before the pandemic, for various reasons.
Yeah.
Once they found out who I was, they're like, yeah, no way, we got to move on from this. But
heard about you.
Yeah. But for the most part, it seems like I've stayed pretty busy, and I've even had the occasion of someone reaching out when I already have something booked. Which was a nice feeling to have that that again, which always seems to happen when I reach out to you.
I know it's so unfortunate. Same with you guys. Like, I've reached out a couple times. And it's like,
I mean, that's good. I'm glad to see you when a friend is busy and working.
Right,
but,
exactly.
You know, we always talk about, you know, we like to book people that not only we think are funny, but we want to hang out with,
right?
And we enjoy, you know, spending time with and everything. So,
because we haven't hung out since like that outdoor show.
Yeah, the one we did for the theater.
That was the last one. And you know, it's funny. We just had Rodney Norman on a couple of weeks ago for the second time, and he was on that show as well. That was the first time I got to work with him.
That was a whole weird song. That was like the first summer of the plague, right? That was.
That was that was the end of that summer.
Yeah.
That was 6 months after everything locked down.
Because I had a run of like some interesting shows. They're all outside.
Outside.
I
the drive-in style, right?
I did a museum like in Farmington, Connecticut.
Really?
Linda Belt. I was at a tennis center. I was at like a golf course. I was at I was at a ski area
resort.
People were just shoehorning them in all these
wherever
weird places. We couldn't have them inside, so where can we put them?
It's like all these really nice places. I'm like, if this vaccine comes, then I'm gonna be back to the American Legion Hall.
Yeah, right. And guess what? We are.
Oaks Hall. Here I come.
Yep.
So, hey, but those are my people.
That's right.
I love those people. And because I remember that outdoor show, I had gone there like 4 hours before the show to set up the stage and the sound that we were using that day.
Yep.
And they were out there doing lines because you had to have squared off sections.
Oh yeah.
That people within the same house could sit in that section, but no other people could. They had to walk off 6 feet in between the squared sections.
Oh, really?
To space it all out. That's why people were so spread out in that field in front of us that day.
It was similar. I did one it was like a town green.
In
Trumbull.
Yes.
And we're doing a show from the gazebo, and there's like little flagged off areas everywhere, and it's just like one of those things where 5 years from now it's going to seem like the most bizarre thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Well, you know what's funny is pre-pandemic, if someone told you, all right, so we're going to do this show, it's going to be outside, and people are going to be in the parking lot in their cars, it's gonna be like a drive-in. You'd be like, are you fucking high? I am not doing that. Now we're like, yes, I will jump at it. Yes.
There was one that I did I felt like I needed the work, and there's a guy in Massachusetts that I'd never heard of. And he reached out to me because I guess he found out that I worked clean, and it was or I can. And we went to I forgot what town it was in Massachusetts, but it was like a fairgrounds.
Yep.
And ended up being like about 10 cars. Yeah. And the stage was a
flatbed.
Flatbed
truck.
It was like a wagon.
A hay baler.
It was a hay wagon that had like a step ladder where like, like, dude, I'm 52. I'm going to break a hip going up here.
Yeah, right.
And then it was 10 cars. I didn't realize that like all the cars were like filled with like kids in Halloween costumes. And the only reason why I went, I didn't even want more. He goes, I can't pay more money. I don't want more money. I just need more time. I got to get like 20 minutes. And if I'm going to make the 2-hour trip, he's like,
make it worthwhile.
I don't know who you are. It's like, I know, but can you, like,
then why are you reaching out to me?
And
leave me alone.
So I ended up doing like 20 minutes. I'm like 10 minutes in going, this guy was right. I really shouldn't have. I really shouldn't have begged for the extra time.
Yeah, right. Oh shit. Yeah. Now I'm
no favors. None of these fourth graders are digging this stuff at all.
Yeah,
right. Like, I don't know what's wrong with these kids. But
so remember the Halloween costumes in the 70s? Oh no, you don't. That's right.
What's your favorite flavor of crayon?
Yeah.
Hey, brother, what do you do for a living? What do you eat? Paste?
John Ferrata, working the crowd at a kindergarten show. What do you walk up and down the classroom eating paste?
What do you do, kid? What do you do for a living?
Did you do any Zoom shows during that?
I did.
I found those just soul sucking.
I'm going to say I did about 6. And like 2 of them were like ones where like I got a chance to do them like for like private office function, which are kind of cool.
Yeah.
There was one that a guy saw us, or a couple of us in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and he was managed some kind of sales office, and he goes like, so he contacted somebody, and they reached out to like whoever else was on the show, and we did Like this first one had like 100 people on the Zoom show. It was kind of fun.
That's not bad.
Then we did the second one. They did like their second office. We want to have that, and there was like 25 people, and it was okay. Yeah. And it's like, we got one more office that just like they're all bummed out. We just want to entertain them. So
there's 5 in that office.
9.
No wonder they're bummed out.
And not only was it not like, they're also working from home.
Yeah,
it was so like there was Gary Veter from like he was like one of the guys. Fantastic guy, right?
Yeah.
So it's me and him, and I forgot who else on there, like Tony Liberati. I don't know if you guys
I've worked with Tony.
Yeah. And so like,
all good comics.
Exactly.
Yeah, by the way.
So, and like, but there's 7 people who like aren't comedians like on the Zoom screen, right? And then before the show even starts, there's this one woman on there going, "Who are these people? Who are the comedians? Are they funny? I'd never heard of these people." And like meanwhile, we're on the screen with her. So I think Tony goes first, I go second. And then in the middle of my set, this woman who's like already screaming about who these comedians are gets up from her screen and goes off screen, and then comes back with a bowl of food, walks past her computer and sits in a couch and just turns her TV on.
Oh my God.
And full view. And then the only thing that distracted me from her was the guy in the square above her who was asleep on a lounger. He just fell asleep altogether. And after that, I didn't do a Zoom show for about 2 months after that. I walked outside, probably had an hour and a half, and just had to cleanse myself. It was awful. Yeah. So there's, I had some good ones, and then I had that one.
I did one good one, and that was the Boston Comedy Festival that year. The whole thing was Zoom shows. It was all online, but
those were good. They were full. They were there to see comedy. They were there to support their friends and family.
One of the nights I was on, you had all the people that were competing. You had a host, you had the people competing, and then I was, as they kept joking, the math comic, meaning I did like 15 minutes while they calculated the scores and came back on to say who won the night, who were the 3 moving on for that night. But you had 8 contestants, and each of those contestants had a bunch of people watching. We had like, I think it was 68 people watching the night we were on. And they all were a good audience. They all listened to everybody. They all supported every comic that was on. So it was fun. It was really enjoyable. Like that 15 minutes went by like that. And then I did another one where it was similar to what you described. And the one lady's watching her screen, then all of a sudden she turns around, and these people were up in Massachusetts because she had the thick Mass accent. She turned around, she goes, Bob, are you in the kitchen? Can you grab me a beer? No, the other one. All right. And that's all you could hear. She was yelling over all of us. And then later she asked them to get her something to eat while someone else was trying to do their spot. And it's just like there's like a balance between you want them off mute so they can laugh. But you want them on mute if they're going to order a fucking beer in the middle of the show. Rick Roberts, you forget that you're watching live performance, I think, when they're sitting at home looking at a computer screen.
I did one where Rick Roberts was on it. He was doing a set. And in the middle of his set, all of a sudden you hear just like, it's just from, some of this one screen. Did you pay the Capital One bill? Did you pay that?
Right.
That's it.
And then I had a break and I go, I'm not sure. Can you share that card number with us, please, just to make sure? And
what else can you do in this situation?
And just to squeeze another laugh out of Rick Roberts' set when he just posed him. Sorry.
Yeah. So finally, when you get to like a live show with a live audience in front of you, it was great.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Well, you're as appreciative as the audience is. I think everyone, I haven't had a bad audience since coming out of the pandemic. I haven't had. Really?
Oh, yeah.
I haven't. I just, they've been great.
I did the last show I did. It's not. It was a fundraiser.
Maybe it's the comics.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
I did the very last show I did. It wasn't that it was. Well, it was bad.
He's trying to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, I'm trying to polish a turd a little bit, and it's not happening. There was like 44 people there. I made
an Amber Heard joke. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I was just moving on.
I said you polished a herd.
They're so.
I'm sorry. No. That's so last week. I know.
You know, people have beat those to death.
I
mean, seriously, those jokes have just shit the bed.
Oh boy, I'm sorry. I
but
said it.
As long as you guys are happy with yourselves, that's really all that matters. You know,
it doesn't take much. No, but there was like 44 people. They made money. They made like over 3,000 after expenses, so they had a good night fundraiser wise.
Yeah.
But with 44 people, you had one table of 8 that decided from the beginning that they were going to talk to every comedian. And they were
going to make the show better.
We're going to outwit every comedian that goes up there.
Charming.
Yeah. Gotta love them.
And you know, the first comic goes up and they're messing with his set, and the second comic goes up and they're messing with his set, and I go up and I got my 2 witty lines that I'm going to say to open up my act to shut them down, and it was gasoline on a fire.
Yep.
And
you just
oh yeah,
started an inferno.
Oh yeah. And,
all right, let me ask you.
And their yelling was just making everybody else uncomfortable.
What state was it in?
That was in Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. I was going to shit on Connecticut all
Rhode Island.
Well, the one like
I had to think for a second because it was right on the line.
Oh, really?
It was right on the line, but it was for a fundraiser for a school in Rhode Island.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming everyone there pretty much lived.
What school?
I'm not gonna.
Come on, let's shit on them.
Which program? I'll tell you about North Grosvenor. Come on,
please. That's right in my backyard. They don't even spell it like it's pronounced, so you're already in trouble there.
No, I did one show like the last fall. I think I was having a pretty good run. You know, when you get there and think, you know, and all of a sudden you kind of get.
Hey, I'm working for like
this is great. Like,
2 months straight. Yeah,
I'm going to tell this joke, and then this joke's going to happen. And that's going to be cool. And then I'll roll into this joke, and you start getting into that. You get a little.
Yeah, you get into a rhythm.
A little happy with yourself, and it's like, you know. And then this crowd made sure that I wasn't happy at all. Yeah. You know, it's like you get it there, and it's silence. It's like, all right, fine. All right, that's going to be, you know, I'll go to this joke. They're going to love this joke. Everybody loves this joke. Nothing. Damn it. All right.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, right.
And it was like that for 25 minutes.
Oh.
And then I got
screws with your head when that happens.
Yeah. And then I had a great opportunity. I worked with Steve Byrne, who I'd never met. And he came on, and honestly, he had it was like a whip in a chair, like, you know, where he just had to sit there and just to draw it out of the audience. It was great to watch a pro because he was, you know, he got there, he got everybody with him.
Right.
But
it was work.
Yeah.
But it was work.
Maybe it's because his opener sucked, but you know, it doesn't, maybe, I don't know, but you know,
who opened up for him?
How's that?
You would never heard of him.
No. And how's that confidence therapy going?
It's, you know, it's a struggle.
Yeah,
it's a struggle.
I'm sure.
We talk about that all the time. The comedy gods. You could get on a run where you once you get to that show where you're a little too confident, where you're like, I don't even have to try. Every one of these jokes is hitting. That next show is going to screw you over so bad. Just remind. And Robin Williams said that in an interview one time. He goes, every once in a while I have that show that reminds me, oh, that's right, I'm a piece of shit. That's right.
The weird part is, like, Steve's like, hey, do you want to? He's like, do you want to go out after this and just get a drink? And I'm like,
and a hug.
Exactly. And it's like, what a great time to hang out with a guy and just get a chance to talk to him. But I was so like thrown by that. And I'm like, you know,
really,
I got to get home. And it's like, what am I? Like, I'm on the way home. But what did I just do?
That's a supportive. Yeah, but see, at least that's a supportive person.
Yeah.
If you're with one of your real friends,
they're gonna shit you apart.
I mean, we had Mary Ellen on last week. Mary Ellen DiPetrillo reveled in the time when I actually bombed in front of her one time. Yeah. I came off stage licking my wounds, and she is on the ground laughing. The high and mighty Acecito has fallen. She's laughing her ass off at my pain.
Yeah, cheer up.
Yeah, that's how you know a true friend.
I forget who the comic was. It was back when I first started. I was only a couple years in. I was doing Boston's Comedy Connection, and a guy went up and he did horrible. I mean, just totally bombed. And it was a good crowd. The people before him did okay, and then he went up and just bombed terribly. And he gets off stage, and Harrison Stebbins looks at him and goes, "Hey, dude, you know what might help? If you write jokes." And I just, one, I fell apart laughing, and two, I was like, that's never going to be me. No. I can never let that happen to me, because that guy was mortified.
Oh my God. And then you got Frank Santarelli, who says Frank Santarelli scoffs at jokes. He doesn't write punchlines.
Did either one of you watch the George Carlin documentary on HBO?
I haven't watched it yet.
I saw the first half. I saw the part 1.
Okay,
which was really good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Part 2, and I'm not going to ruin it for you.
Yeah.
Just this one scene.
I know how it ends. Go ahead.
Don't spoil it. I haven't finished it.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Yeah. No, but he when he was doing, remember Jamming in New York? The special he did in '92 when he was talking about the war in Iraq and everything.
I think so.
Well, it shows him doing the sound check, and he's performing the joke like he's going to do on stage that night.
Yeah.
And he does a thing where he's talking about dropping bombs. He's going, and he goes, and at that point, they're going to be laughing really, really loud. So what I'll do if they keep laughing is I'll keep doing the sound effect. I'm like, this guy knows exactly where the laughs are going to be and how long, and he hasn't done it yet.
And that's why he was a genius.
and
because he wrote the jokes knowing when, like, we all try shit. And then go, oh, they laughed at that. And they laughed at that last week and 2 weeks ago. So,
but he knew
ahead of time. We're trying shit out, waiting for the laughs.
You write a joke. Yeah. It's like, all right, like, I'm going to do this joke and then break the laughter, and then go to the next joke. Yeah. And then, so that's how a 20
But he had contingency plans.
That's how a 20 minutes that turns into 8 minutes.
Right, exactly.
Then they show the clip of him doing it live in front of the audience, and it went exactly like he said it would during the sound check.
Yeah.
He's doing that, and they get so loud you can't even hear him doing the bomb sound effect. So he does another round of it until they come back down, and then you could go to the next joke. It was just absolutely brilliant. Now, how long have you been doing comedy?
I started in 1990.
Almost as long as me. I started in '89.
I was a senior in college. I went to Bryant. I did like going
I
to
was
those
at Rick.
Periwinkle showcase nights.
Yeah.
So, but I only did it 3 times that year.
Yeah.
And then I came back once for a contest in that summer where I finished. If I'm assuming there's like 10 people, so I probably finished like 13.
11.
Yeah, brutal. And
where was it? Was it at Periwinkle's?
Yeah. And then I went back home and like in Connecticut, and we had like 3 open mics on like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you're just just making the circuit. But yeah, but I remember like I was my first time on stage. I was like 3 people after Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And
Joe was working Periwinkle's and the Mattapoisett Inn and all the places around here all the time.
And I'm like, I'm a pretty innocent guy, who had a small. I like to drink a little bit, but I was I wasn't allowed to play with those kids, like those guys, And Rogan is in the middle, like he had stepped off the stage and stepped onto the front table, and just started doing a set from there, and just massacred the place,
annihilated.
And
every
then
time.
3 people later, I'm up there doing jokes about being a marketing major. I'm like, this is I don't. No one needs this. Like just, and I'm walking by that I was at a Laura Ashley store that was upstairs.
At the old Periwinkle's in the arcade.
Square.
At Dave Old Square. And, that's right. Yeah, they had moved by then.
And I'm walking like the hallways just because I got to get my 5 minutes perfect. That's the only way I can do. And so I'm not networking with anybody. Yeah. And I'm just like, it's 5 minutes. I got to get the words perfect. You go there and you got like a couple of giggles, and then you come back like a month later because you don't know what the schedule is and you don't know, what you're doing.
Yeah, because everyone else was there like every week.
Yeah.
On Wednesday night for the open mic, and then Thursday night for Cato and Morin. Did you ever do that show?
No.
Cato and Morin's college comedy night?
I was out of town before that. I think it was like March of my senior year, so I did like 3 times there.
Yeah.
And where were you doing in Connecticut?
It was the 3 places were Joker's Wild in New Haven. One was on Crown Street.
Yeah.
By the way, the only place in my life where I've ever been patted down for drugs on the way out. Anyway,
really?
So just
the way out.
They did pay paid in little envelopes.
For a guy who never got a detention in high school, I was in the wrong building.
Yeah, right. It was New Haven.
Again, kids you weren't allowed to play with.
Exactly. So it was Joker's Wild. It was Billy Jack's in Glastonbury.
Okay.
So if you go to the Stop and Shop in Glastonbury and see the bottle return area,
that's where it was.
Billy Jack.
It's still there.
And the thing is, like, you would see
you return bottles and do a show.
The thing is, I don't know if they did with all the photos. It was like one of those like comedy store type things, like Foxworthy, Engvall, Leno, like everybody was there. And then it was Brad Axelrod's Treehouse down in
Treehouse Comedy
in either Westport or Norwalk or something. I forgot which place.
He had a treehouse in.
Didn't he have one in
Mystic?
Norwich? Oh, Mystic.
Yeah, he had one in Mystic for a while.
That was the one that I had always. Ed Regine always used to tell me like, yeah, you want to try and do that one, and I never did, and I didn't work for Brad for years until only a few years ago.
Yeah. There was a few of those places going around. Connecticut has been weird when it comes to comedy because like you look at it now and outside of Ryan Brouth, you have people that do fundraisers
And Fairfield's got some work going on.
Yeah.
The Fairfield comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but that seems to be more almost New York based.
Yeah. I mean, they got a couple of. I think they're getting some of the New Haven guys involved. And plus, there's the Vinnie Brand place in Bridgeport.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The Stress Factory,
Stress Factory in Bridgeport.
Yeah, but he books a lot of bigger name.
Yeah.
Well, because he doesn't do like an open mic or
actually, I think they've got one going on in the middle of the week. I think.
Oh, really?
They started cranking it up again recently. Like
good. And he's from Long Island, though, right?
Or
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah, the
Vinnie Brand's
regional club is from New Jersey.
Yeah. Well, the other parts, like I quit in '94. Because it was the open mics. I didn't have a plan. I was like, I was just wanted the material and wanted to be perfect and would never talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So, and then you wonder why you're not getting hired,
right?
Just because no one knows who you're. Just a weird guy.
You're not networking. Yeah, you're just the guy that shows up.
You didn't have like when I started, I was lucky enough to have someone that was working in the area telling me, call this guy on this day, call this guy on this day. Yeah. That kind of was leading me on how to get stuff and how to get work.
I was too busy reciting jokes.
Yeah.
So
in the corner.
Yeah, and then I came back. My first show back was Parada. I think it had to be 03, and it was what was the name of the place in the Providence Place Mall?
Stitches. Yeah, Stitches Comedy
Cafe. Yep. With all K's. Comedy Cafe. You gotta hit the K really hard.
My first night back after I got booked a month ahead of time, and it was the night of the final of the first American Idol. So there were 12 comedians and there were 2 crowd members, and they said, well, thank you for your time. We'll come back later. And they just there was no show. So I had to sit on it for like another three weeks or something. And then the next one was a John Prada one where it was we ended up at the Seekonk
Ramada Inn
at the time.
400 comics.
The thing is, it was packed.
It was packed.
People.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that was great. The thing is, and we're old enough to remember this too. Like, you talk about open mics now. Open mics now are just they're rough.
It's just comics.
You'd go to Joker's Wild in New Haven,
right?
And there'd be 50 people there on a Wednesday because there was comedy.
We talk about that all the time.
We talk about it all the time.
When I did the Connection Faneuil Hall, the first time I ever did it was a Monday night. Was the true open mic night when the new people did it. Tuesdays, Wednesdays was showcase.
Yeah.
Once you got past, you could do, instead of doing 5 minutes, you got to do 7 to 8 minutes.
7 or 8 on a Tuesday or
still
Wednesday.
didn't get paid,
Tuesday,
but you got to go up and do a longer slot. But on a Monday night, the very first night I was there, they had almost 100 people in the audience of actual paying customers
because they wanted
to see comedy.
Comedy, that's how it was at Periwinkle's when we started.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It was people went out on a Wednesday night to see comedy.
But what they did well, and Periwinkle's did this too, is you had a true headliner host these shows.
Right. The host headliner.
Because the Faneuil Hall, they had Kevin Knox on Mondays.
Yep.
Tuesdays, I think was
it Knock Dizzy?
Either he was Tuesdays and Loletta was Wednesdays or vice versa.
Yep.
You had these guys that were known Boston comics. That
how much of a machine is Dizzy, by the way?
Oh,
that guy just writes. We're
getting him. We've been asking him to come on for the past couple of years, and he's like, he's kind of an introvert. So
I've
he's
met
like
him a few times.
He goes, I got nothing to talk about, but he just reached out to us. I think he just filmed a pilot with another comic, so
and it won a contest.
It won a contest.
Oh, great.
So he wants to come on and talk about it. I'm like, hey, however he wants to come on. I just want to talk.
He's always been one of my favorites because he's a machine. Such a great writer.
Yeah,
and so witty. And he's one of those guys you sit there and you got to really listen to because he's such a wordsmith.
And there's not a wasted word.
No.
Well
said.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. To your point.
Hallelujah.
All right, let's drink.
All right, fine.
Yeah, I know.
We have a little drinking game because we have crutches. Ace tends to say when he's trying to reiterate what you just said, he'll go to your point, and he says that a lot. And we going back and listening, when I agree with someone, I don't say that's correct or I agree. I go 100%, but I don't say it once. I go 100%, 100%. So
that's when you're emphatically in.
Yeah, I really want you to know I agree with you. And I believe every word you just
Scotty
said.
2 times.
Scotty 2 times. I'm gonna get the papers. Get the papers. But I'm thinking back to some of these guys I got to work with back in the day, and I would stay there for the entire show, even though I drove up from Connecticut to Boston.
Yeah.
And watch these guys. you watch someone like Knox do time between all of these comics. It'd be 8-9 comics on the show, and then do 30 minutes at the end.
Yeah,
and kill with every joke, every minute,
but not in a way that took away from anyone.
No,
but in a way that would get the audience back like if someone bombed, he would get the audience back, but not to the point where it was like slamming, where it was hard for the next person to get up there. He knew it just the right amount.
If someone had a good set, he would just ride that energy and keep it going into the next guy. If someone bombed, he'd bring them back up where they need to be perfectly and hand it off to the next guy. These guys were.
It's an art form.
It is.
Yeah, it really is.
Oh yeah, to do that.
And you watch these guys do that, and you're like, God, I hope I can be that good someday. And I'm not.
Exactly. I've hosted a show before.
Someday.
It's painful. Yeah.
I still once in a while, host. Obviously, when you book your own fundraiser, the theater show that I do, I always host that. And hosting is tough. That is a tough job, to walk out there first when the crowd isn't warmed up yet, and really try to get their interest. And then you go off, and you got to come back out, and they're like, "Why is this guy back?"
I think what's tough too, especially like with the theater show. And when I was doing the Royal Flush show, what's tough is when you get regulars that come every month.
Yes.
And you can't, after like 6 months, all right, I've already exhausted 10 minutes of material on each one of those shows. I don't want to repeat.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to try brand new stuff because it may not work. And then all of a sudden you look like a piece of shit. It's a balance.
I've stopped. It's not that I don't care. But I do try to write a new 5-minute segment for the opening of each of those shows when I go up there.
But you're only doing it 4 times a year.
I'm doing it.
I was doing it monthly.
I'm doing it 4 times a year.
Tougher.
Yeah. But even if it's not ready, I'm doing that new 5.
That's how you know it's ready.
And
right.
No, it's not. Trust me, it's not. They let me know.
I've seen it.
They've let me know.
Well,
that's
not ready.
That's the whole grading process.
Yeah. But in a way, it keeps me writing.
Yeah,
keeps you writing.
I do the same thing. Mine's like not as severe, but there's a show that I do yearly. It's from my brother works. He has like a fundraiser for the Wethersfield High School hockey. There's the longest named fundraiser in the planet. Wethersfield High School hockey scholarship fund. We've been doing it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
And this is like the first time we did it again since the plague.
Pandemic. Yeah.
And but we've done we started with like 50 people. Now they get like 250, and
that's awesome.
And it's nice.
So Scott and I are wondering who books that.
Yeah. I asked, and you guys were busy.
Well, ask now for them.
You did.
No, they don't have a date yet.
All right.
But yeah, it was. I do the same thing though. Because I'm also kind of like
because the same people are coming to support them every year. Right?
I write down every set list. That's the one thing to do. So if I go back in the building, I don't want to make sure. And again, I would love to be more prolific than I am.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something new, but there's also 6 tentpole bits that you have to pry from my cold dead hands before I stop doing.
Same.
But that's one of the places where I can kind of try some newer pieces, and they like me enough where they're not going to throw shit if it's terrible.
Right. If you go up in front of a strange crowd that you don't know and you do a joke that bombs, you're going to know about.
And then you go to the back of the set list from 2017. I'm like, what the hell was that joke about?
Right.
And then I wrote down sucked, never do again. All right. Perfect. Now we know. Yeah.
But you know what? We've been talking about it too. As you build more time and more time, you have those 6 tent poles, and then you've got like a couple of things to go around them.
Yep.
Do you have jokes that you've let go?
Yeah.
Not for any reason other than just time.
And they don't it's tough. It's tough to take the 3-point turn to get that to go back on track to where the rest of the set is going.
Not even that. Recently I did a joke I haven't done probably in 5 or 6 years. And the only reason I haven't been doing it is because as I write some new stuff, I'm more concentrating on doing that. Yeah. And I don't have enough
still have those tent poles you don't want to move.
I don't have enough time to do this joke anymore by the end of the set, so I just haven't done it.
Yeah, I did that a couple nights, like the last couple weeks ago. Right, I dug out the high school commencement speech, which I haven't done in about 2 years, and
that's a great joke.
And it works, right? It worked
when you tell it right.
Yeah, because it had been 2 years, you didn't tell it right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That happens.
Let's just crank this one out. And all of a sudden, and you're halfway through the bit going, wait a minute, I just did the third part second. Oh, this is gonna suck. Yeah, it's good thing there's 9 people here.
I got one for you. I was at an open mic. It was a Parada pub on Park before they expanded, when it was the small.
Oh, when it was the little bar.
And I'm in there, and some lady who hadn't seen me since Periwinkles goes, do the Roger Rabbit joke. Dude, I haven't done the Roger Rabbit joke in at least 25 years. I was like, all right, remind me. How does it start?
Line.
And you know what? It still worked.
Yeah.
Once I remembered it, it still worked for the people that were there.
Well, I had the complete opposite of that moment. Back in the day when I used to work City Steam. One time before the first show Saturday night started, I went upstairs to use the bathroom, and as I'm walking up the stairs, people are coming down to check in, and I heard this girl say to her boyfriend, he was here last time we were here. I hope he does some new stuff.
And
I'm scrambling in my head.
How about some really old stuff that's new to you?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm scrambling in my head. When I was here last year, what was I doing at that time? Do I have any new stuff that I'm doing? What can I pull out? And it went. And
I was like a Bill Clinton impression.
Yeah.
How about Ronald Reagan?
Well, Nancy.
How about Jimmy Carter? But I'm up on stage, and it's in my head while I'm up there doing my set, and I'm scanning the crowd looking for these people to try to say. And
you almost want to yell out to the lady and go, what did I do last time? Because I got all the shit.
Like, if I could see her, if I could see her face and see her laughing, then and that's, I don't like remember half the things I did, but this really happened. I'm going along and I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. That was always a fun room. And I do this one joke that gets nothing. And I'm like, and it's a joke that I know works.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you guys didn't like that one. And some guy goes, no, we liked it the first time you did it.
You did it earlier in the set.
I told it twice.
Perfect.
And I went, well, awesome. And all I could think to say was, well, you laughed so hard the first time, I thought you missed it.
I figured, right.
It's a callback.
That's a callback.
And now I'm sweating.
So that's called an exact callback.
Exactly. City Steam's also it's the side of my worst hosting moment. I'm not sure if you guys have ever forgotten the name of the headliner while you're on stage.
Yep.
Okay. Brian Scalero, who was like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to him in the green room.
Yeah.
This isn't even the first show. It's the second show of the night. And all of a sudden I get up there and I do like my 7 minutes. And or I do like that. I think Allie Breen was a feature that night. So
because you do the first set, then you do a few minutes after the.
So I did a couple minutes, and I said, "You guys ready for a headliner? Please welcome." Damn it! It's a Brian. All I could think of was Brian Arakpo was like a linebacker for the Titans at the time. Like Brian, that's not him.
Brian, his name ends in an O. He's Italian.
And then I hear from the back, you forgot my fucking name, didn't you? And I was the first 10 minutes for Zach.
You just gave him 10 minutes.
Exactly.
Are you kidding? He didn't care.
Exactly.
Yeah, he didn't care.
I get it now. Scalera.
Yep.
Well,
that's awesome.
I can beat you. Yeah. I've told the story on here before. Rich Seisler.
Oh, yes.
One of my first time hosting ever.
He's the guy who made up all the movie names.
Yes.
Which is one of my favorite stories ever. It was because I was so impressed that first night. But anyway, that was back in the day when you did the Connection in Providence. You worked Wednesday to Sunday.
Yep.
And you did 7 shows.
Yep.
Total. Sunday night show, the 7th show of the weekend. I've nailed his intro and his fake movies every show for the whole weekend. Sunday night, we had a kind of a rough crowd. It was like I don't remember if it was Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend or something, but everyone had Monday off. So you had a crowd that they were there drinking and they were rowdy.
They probably had cookouts all day.
And so I'm still relatively new. So I do my time, featured as his. I go back up. I do my 2 minutes that they gave you. And I go to bring him up, and he's standing over by the big vault door. And I go, ladies and gentlemen, how about a hand for your headliner? And I look at him, and he knows instantly. I forgot his name. And he's grinning from ear
we're waiting
to ear. And if felt like an hour, but it was probably about 30 seconds, and then it popped in my head. And I said his name and brought him up, and he got on stage and he goes, "You forgot my fucking name." And I went, "Yeah," and he's laughing. He was cool about it, at least.
Yeah,
but I'm standing there and I'm sweating, going, "Holy shit, these people." Well, it happened to Tyler Hittner recently when we did a show with him.
That's right.
First off, we take for granted that everybody knows everything about comedy because Ace is running the show, and Ace tells this kid, "Do you know Tyler?"
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, but
nice kid,
great,
really
kid.
nice kid, very
really
funny.
hard worker, funny guy. Yeah.
So Ace tells him, "Listen, we're gonna tag team this." He goes, "Oh, okay." He doesn't know what that means. He doesn't know what tag team means. He doesn't know what that means. So he goes up.
Cool. Yeah.
He goes up, does 15 minutes, and he goes, "That's my time, thank you." And then he just starts looking around.
He's looking around, waiting for someone to come up. I'm like, does he not know?
And he looks. He looks over at me. I'm waiting on side. I go, "You introduce me?" And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "Oh, your next comic, great guy, very funny." And I totally forgot his name.
And he had already been on the fucking podcast. He knows us.
Yeah,
you know?
It was so, and I made him sit there and sweat it out too.
You know, the worst part was we tag teamed, and then Scott forgot my name.
Well,
when he introduced me.
I introduced him as Tyler Hittner.
It was a theme.
Yeah.
I recorded a show at I was at I think I was doing like a Wednesday or a Sunday at Comics, and I forgot who the host was. Damn it! Anyway, now I'm doing it to him. But he did the set, and I'm up next, and he goes, "All right, you guys ready? Here is Howard Johnson," and that's like.
You're a chain of restaurants and hotels,
exactly. with very underrated ice cream.
We call him Hojo. That's awesome.
You may know him as Hojo.
Yeah, exactly. Howard Johnson.
From
the movie Blazing Saddles.
And then we just get up and all right, close enough. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
Oddly enough, no one in the crowd cares.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Tyler was messaging me the next day, and I'm like,
so sorry.
I'm like, dude, I've done it.
We've all done it.
Just let it go. It's no big deal. I go, it was much worse that you didn't know what tag team is. Dude, you call yourself a professional?
Yeah. Then
I just gave him shit about that. But
he had a good set that night too.
He did.
And we had I love these are the shows I love where you're told, okay, they want a squeaky clean show. So you got to make sure, Tyler is squeaky clean. I know you and Scott can be clean. I get there. I talk to the contact. I go, okay, so this is a squeaky clean show, right? And the contact wasn't like the president of the group.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to the president of the group. I said, okay, so we were told to be squeaky clean. He goes, "Are you fucking kidding me? We've been in a pandemic for 2 years. We want to laugh. You fucking do whatever you want." I'm like, yes. But I didn't tell Tyler that.
Exactly.
because as a new comic, I want him to get used to having to work squeaky clean to do 5 to 10 minutes squeaky clean. And he did a great job. So, it worked out. But, of course, then me and Scott went up and
broke the F meter.
Empty the bag.
I told a Muppet Valtrex joke.
No, and I find that lately the new ideas I have, and I'm not purposely trying to write clean or purposely trying to write dirty. Just the stuff that I'm coming up with is lending itself to be just more, clean, and just everyday thought type of stuff that's popping up and is. Just seems funnier to me right now. My sense of humor has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
And
meanwhile, I started clean, and the last 2 jokes that I've actually written are dirty. Which whatever.
But just one of those things.
The good thing is I have enough time where if someone says do clean, fine. I end on a Davy and Goliath joke. You know what I mean? Or I don't have to do that other stuff. You know?
You said you've done shows for like kids. Because you talk about the Halloween show,
not on purpose, but
no.
Surprised when I got there. Like, here's one.
No, not the ones the judge says you can't do anymore.
Yeah, not those. Not the clown ones.
But have you done like
I had a shout from a 500-foot distance? Yeah.
Have you done any of like the post graduation shows or any of those type of things?
The cleanest thing that I had to do was like there was a church in Connecticut that was expecting to get like a Christian comedian who I guess had a flight that got delayed and then eventually canceled. So I got like the last minute call because they had seen like a couple of other folks. So I was like new and could handle it. So I'd end up doing 45 minutes squeaky clean there. And they seemed to like it.
And they liked it.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable doing that?
Yeah, I am.
Well, because it's the way you said squeaky.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, there's jokes I have where I don't swear, but they're still dark, so you don't know how.
Yeah, because you could be clean, but dark sense of humor still.
And that's we've talked about that before too. When people say I want a clean show, some people mean just no swearing.
Yeah.
And some people mean
nothing suggestive.
Right,
like,
right.
Because comedians are like, we're pretty much the only people where you can go to your job and have to ask people, so can I say yak scrotum? Or do I have to?
Right. Can I say ass?
Yeah.
You know,
like, well, I'd rather you not. Like,
I'll be clean, but if I say J-Lo's ass, is that going to offend anyone? You know, and it's like,
yeah, I had someone say they wanted a clean show one time, and the only thing they didn't want us to use was the F word.
It was the F word, right?
Yeah.
Literally everything else was fine, just not the F word.
There's a country club in Connecticut where I technically may not still be allowed. And it's because there was a complaint after I got off stage because I said Jesus. And it was
Ace, you could never go there.
I'd be fucked.
Exactly. And the joke was it had to do with like high school basketball where I was terrible and I sat at the end of the bench and I'd wait for the signal from the coach, which usually sounded something like, oh Jesus, what else could go wrong? Mason, get in there. So I wasn't even like in a religious
Are you kidding?
sense.
Oh my
and
God.
She came up while she's complaining. The guy who's a headliner on stage is conjugating the word fuck.
And that was fine with them.
Apparently, it
was the Jesus reference.
So that's the one. So,
oh my God, I'd be screwed.
It's crazy.
I'd be screwed.
It's crazy.
If you were leaving your house,
if you're leaving your house,
ready to get offended at me, you probably shouldn't leave your house.
You shouldn't,
because on the chart of offensive people that I've worked with, you're not on it.
Remember when people would say, like, there are just some people who don't have a sense of humor,
right? Yeah.
Why the fuck are they coming to comedy shows?
Well,
that's the problem.
What I like,
because people who would never come to a live comedy show come to live comedy shows.
But
now.
Are you talking fundraisers or comedy club? Because
no, it's fundraisers.
Because you get a lot of people at fundraisers that aren't there for the comedy; they're there to support the fundraiser.
Right, right.
And that's where we walk that line.
Right, and that's where it becomes difficult because they should not be at a club or at the fundraiser if it's a comedy fundraiser. You want to go to the church bazaar? Thank you. I'm getting all wired and wound up, and Scotty, Scotty is giving me another pour.
That is a big whiskey bottle. I didn't even have a foot pump. What the hell's happening over there?
And listen, you don't have to drink that so slow. I have more beer. I can get you more.
All right.
So,
you know, is the waiter going to come down?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Appetizers are almost ready.
I've trained my cat to come down, with
that would be the ultimate for the ace man.
You need a St. Bernard. I think.
Yeah,
what you need.
I think so. No, but yeah, that's the problem is, but still, it's going to be a comedy show. If you don't have a sense of humor and you're easily offended at things, listen, Shecky Green is dead. I think. Is he dead?
Must be.
I don't think anybody's told him.
But like, you're not going to see vaudeville comedy. Anymore,
and
he was supposedly filthy.
Yeah,
but here's the other thing.
A lot of those older guys were. You're right.
We also ran into that a lot during the pandemic.
Yeah.
I keep on saying the plague, pandemic, because it was people were just so happy to get out. So you would, so in that Trumbull show, there were people that are just staring at you like, I'm just happy to be outside.
Right.
I had a fundraiser show that I put together, and when I book a fundraiser show, I asked people, you want PG-13? And these people said, no, we want full adult show. I said, all right. I said, well, my full adult show that I book is not going to be X-rated. I said, but it's going to be like an R-rated show. And they go, yep, that's what we want. So I booked an R-rated show.
Yeah.
That's what they asked for.
Yeah.
And it was going along fine. And then one table got mad at one of the comics and wanted to actually get in a fight with him during his act. And then the headliner, Mike McCarthy, he'll tell you the story.
Oh, yeah. Listen here, kid.
He came up to me and he goes, listen, dude, if it wasn't your gig, that guy came up to me that was yelling at me during my set, I would have knocked him on his ass. But he goes, it was your gig, and I don't want to upset things, everything like that. And then somebody at another table called Mike Murray to complain.
Really?
About the material.
That's crazy.
And I asked Mike for the number. I called the guy, and the guy goes, I've been to a ton of these shows, and it's always the same thing. You guys are telling these dirty jokes. Why can't you tell jokes like you're telling them in church? And I go, well,
because people don't tell jokes.
I go, how many stand-up comedy shows have you seen in your church?
Yeah.
I go, that's not what it is. I go, sir, we delivered what the customer asked for, and I'm sorry that you didn't find it funny.
Don't go to shows anymore.
I really do, but
surprised
maybe.
McCarthy.
And I said to him, I said, maybe comedy's not for you.
Yeah, I'm surprised McCarthy didn't go, kid. I punched him out and rubbed my nuts on his face.
No, wow.
My kilt.
Go back about that show at the church, right? But the pinch hitting. My favorite part of the show was at the end, where a guy came in the room where I was just kind of like winding down, and the guy said, he goes, "Thanks again for coming in." Like, you figure the guy that you're paying, $6,000 to would be able to make it on time. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you were doing it for $100.
And I look at my envelope. I'm like, so what happened here? It's like
oh my God!
I'll tell you, and
I'll take 3.
Exactly.
How's that?
I'll cut it in half. How about that?
Right.
No, but we've talked about it before when we had Tom Cotter on too. He talked about some of these guys that work the religious circuit. They
ridiculous
make
money.
Bank.
Yeah.
Stupid money.
What these guys will do is a lot of them will do the shows at the church halls and stuff. They do the show for free, and they sell merch, and they just make a killing on selling merch. Books or T-shirts or stuff like that.
Yeah.
They'll make $1,000 in a night, $2,000, $3,000 just selling their merch and stuff.
It used to drive me crazy. I used to work for a company where we used to have like our sales kickoff, and they used to have like an inspirational kind of entertaining speaker.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And all those most of them were like. They were comics, but they would inspire. So they would do their B-level horseshit comedy, and then all of a sudden go, kids, stay in school. And then all of a sudden that's like, what if the president was Italian? And all of a sudden he goes into launches and that. It's like I wanted to choke every single one of them, and everybody's like, why are you so mad? Why aren't you mad? Because
he's making 10 times the money I make. Yeah,
and it's they're getting paid. It's exhausting.
Listen, I have told Mike Murray so many times that he could be making a killing on being a motivational speaker instead of a comic. Yeah. Because as a motivational speaker, if you make the audience laugh once every 10 minutes, you're a fucking rock star. And we make them laugh every 20 seconds.
And he's good.
And he's great. Exactly. And he has a story to tell about overcoming adversity. So, I mean, I love Mike, and he's kind of starting to get into it. Yeah. But that is where the money is.
Well, we had a guy on that was a comedian back in the.
Do you remember Darren LaCroix?
Oh yeah, actually, he was a Bryant guy, I think, because
I think he was
one of my better friends. It was actually, I think, either lived with him or knew him.
We had him on. He went from comedy to being and
he'll be the first to admit it. He was not a great comic.
Yeah.
And in fact, the last time I worked with him was do you remember Bob Mello used to book a place called Goodfellas in Feeding Hills?
No. Yeah, out near Springfield. Mass.
Yeah,
I did it.
Yeah, great room. It was a sports bar.
Yeah.
But I did it with Darren. Darren ate it. That was the last time I worked with him. Next thing you know, I joined Toastmasters. Yeah, and someone goes, "Oh, you're a comic? Do you know Darren LaCroix?" And I'm like, yeah, I know Darren LaCroix. He used to open for me all the time. And they're like, he's the world champion of public speaking. This guy is making fucking millions.
He's a rock star when it comes to public speaking.
Public speaking. Yeah. And
you go to his website, there he is posed on side of his Mercedes convertible and stuff
overlooking
like
the valley in Las Vegas.
Meanwhile, our green room is outside a men's room. We're in a folding chair.
Hey, we're sitting in
we've got integrity, damn it.
Listen, with my art. We're sitting in my basement in my old office with a fucking poster on the wall that says "Welcome to the Acement," and Darren's, driving. And I love Darren. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting.
Same guy that used to sleep on the floor.
Don't even bring it up. Don't bring it up.
Some of us had to do that when we had gigs. That happens.
All right.
Anyway.
Fucking asshole.
Here's the thing. Did you wonder, like, during the lockdown, if you were even going to come back and do this?
He questioned it.
Yeah.
He questioned it. He said to me, I don't know, it was like 2 months into the lockdown. He goes, I don't know if I want to do comedy anymore. I'll write. I'll still do the podcast. I'll do stuff, but I don't know if I want to perform anymore.
I said, I'll still book like the theater and I'll book some stuff, but I don't think I'm going to
there was like that brief, like, what was it going to be like at the end of it? And then it turns out, like, and we're shitting on it, but it's like, it doesn't matter. I end up appreciating it more. Like
I do too.
I like the drive out to the show. Like, I like it's like one of the best things when you find out who's working on the show and it's somebody that you like. You get a chance to hang out. You do your show. With any luck, it goes well. Yeah. And then like that drive home, that's just kind of a semi-relaxing kind of. I like everything about it all of a sudden.
Our first live show that we did after the lockdown, we were on the same show together. Mike Katrobis booked us up in New Hampshire in this tent.
Yep.
And we were on with Jimmy Cash. And, my material was like all out of sync and my timing was out of sync, everything. But you know what? The crowd was laughing.
Still had fun.
Yeah. Had a blast. I got in the car. I stayed to the end of the show. Normally, you get in the car and you leave when your set's done and head home because you got a 2-hour drive home. I stayed to the end to watch everybody, to say goodbye to the crowd when they leave, to talk to people and everything.
Had a blast.
And you just get a taste of all that energy again and all all that aura of everybody just being like that. And it was after that show I was like, no, I'm back.
Yeah,
I'm back. I got to do this more.
You have to. It's like you know what it is. It's almost like the pandemic was rehab. You went through rehab, you got off the drug, and then you were like, yeah, I think I can live drug free.
You were scared to face reality without the drug.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden you try the drug again and you're like, you relapse. And comedy is a drug. We've all talked about it.
Yeah.
Everybody we've ever had on talks about that first time they got that big laugh when they were on stage and they said it, and everybody uses the same term. The hook was set.
Yeah. The hook was set.
It took me 10 years, but I had to come back.
But you did it.
But you remember the moment that happened, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
There was a good Periwinkles joke, So
it's
the
thing.
A joke you couldn't do now.
But that's the thing. And even John Parada, he went through the same thing. He started way back in like 85, did it 3 times and then left and didn't come back until like 91 or 92 because it brings you back. Once you've done it, the hook is set, you want to do it again. And I can't imagine not doing comedy. Like I'm at the point now where like my kids are getting older. So even though my kids are with me every other weekend, I got 18, 17 and 14-year-old, they're making their own plans on the weekends. So where I used to not book comedy on the weekends, I had my kids.
Yeah.
It's changed now because they're like, well, my 18-year-old daughter is off. She'll go to New Hampshire to visit a friend. My 17-year-old son is off doing whatever. My 14-year-old daughter's like, can I go sleep over so-and-so's house? And now I'm like, why didn't I book comedy tonight? Exactly. So I've started booking.
You guys coordinate this schedule like 3 months ahead of time?
I've started booking comedy again on those nights. And I really look forward to it.
He sends his bookings out to his kids first
for
approval before he sends them out to the booker.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, actually, this weekend I am. I will talk at the end of the show.
I was lucky where like I just talking about this with a couple of people. My kids, it's important if you're gonna have kids out there, everybody, have ones that you like. It's really nice.
Yeah. Or like most of the time.
Exactly. But
my wife and I are blessed with 2 beautiful children and a third one.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Notice how he's not saying which one.
You're batting.
I'll let them figure it out.
Let them figure it out. They're all watching the show.
You're batting 667. My kids
didn't texting each other right now. It's you, Grace. It's
oh
you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My kids didn't get involved in sports, which ended up being so great for me. Like, how can I couldn't do weekends.
You had it easy.
We were at a lacrosse tournament in Pennsylvania, for that nonsense. I didn't have to worry about it. Like my daughter ran cross country. That's 5 Saturday mornings in the fall. And
I know.
And,
look at him grinning over there.
Meanwhile,
you didn't have to take a van full of kids up to a soccer tournament in Vermont for
Nope. Listen, I got a daughter who does dance competitions where I sit in a fucking high school auditorium for 3 days.
I had 2 that did dance.
Yeah.
So
and you know what though? I have to say, I honestly love doing it. I love, even on weekends where, my ex has them, I still go to her dance competitions and watch her dance. I love doing that
part
because I also know 4 or 5 years from now, that's not going to happen. Like I'm going to Boy Scout camp with my son in July, and it's the camp I went to when I was a Boy Scout. and this is his last year. Like he just turned in his Eagle Scout paperwork tonight, did his project, is ready for his board of review, and this is his last year going to Camp Yago. And I'm sad, like, you know, that this is the last year we're gonna go. I almost want to like be like, so you're gonna be a leader, like you're gonna join, you know. But I think he's like every other kid that ages out, needs a couple of years off before he really appreciates what scouting did for him. Then maybe he'll come back, and if he does, then I'll go back.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic, because when you're at your point, you're like, oh man, it's sad. They're all kind of growing out of this stuff, and then you get at my point when they're 29 and still living with you, going, when are you leaving?
Yeah, right.
You sure you don't want more privacy?
I didn't sign up for
your
this.
own?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no. I think it's time. I'm just saying. I
didn't sign up for this.
I'll miss you, but I won't miss you.
Yeah,
right.
I'm starting to like you less. That's all I'm saying. It's a weird dynamic.
But the thing is, at least we got them all for the material. So that's all.
Exactly. Yeah, true.
You know, and that's the one conscious thing I've done. We talk about writing material because, you know, the show's called Behind the Funny, is that's what I based a lot of my stuff on when I started, because when I started was right after my third was born.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you had kind of a built-in.
And I said, I'm either gonna step out now, or about 4 or 5 years, there's gonna be I'll never do it.
Yeah.
So I started doing it, and I talked about being a dad of young girls and dealing with it. That's why, because that's what my life was at that point. And so now the stuff I'm trying to talk about, you know, more of, I'm not aging gracefully, and my wife and I are becoming a couple again, and you know, we didn't realize we had to do that, and neither one of us really want to.
I'm not dating friendly.
Yeah. We already did this shit. You know, I'm not courting you again.
It's funny.
I shut this down a little.
I already signed the contract.
Well, and it's funny because now, me being divorced and dating, I'm starting to write jokes where I used to write jokes about my love life sucking. And now I'm able to bring those jokes back, but in a different slant,
right?
And
it still
add
sucks.
Some stuff. It still sucks, but now, like I talk about how, like when I was dating the first time, if you met someone on the computer, you were a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't meet someone on the computer, you're a loser. You know what I mean?
Ew, you met them in a bar,
and it talks.
Ew.
Yeah, you met them face to face. You know, like
at a gas station.
And exactly.
Shh. It was up front.
Hey, you showed up.
What's that knocking noise in the trunk of your car?
I found my first comedy notebook. When I was 22, 20, I'd be 22 years old. I'm looking at it going, who the hell was this shit for?
Yeah.
Awful.
I know.
And then I made it worse during the during the pandemic. I found an old micro cassette recorder. I'm like,
You listen to it.
I wonder what's on here. And it was a contest that I did. And again, this is another city steam. It was called what the hell was it called back then?
Not the
Brown. It was Brown Thompson Brouhaha.
Yes, Brown Thompson Restaurant.
Yep.
In the Brouhaha.
Yeah. We did a contest there. Angel Rentis won.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And always a solid guy. And and here's a story that I told for years. They changed the rules while I was on stage. I was like, everybody got 5 minutes, and at the end of my set, they started yelling about how they needed to go home and they needed to get off stage, blah blah blah. And I lost. I think I came in 11th out of 12th, and I lost to a guy who forgot the punchline to his last joke, and that's how I remember it.
Really?
And then I listened to the micro cassette tape and realized that my 5-minute set took about 11 minutes.
Ooh.
I went so far over the time. I can't. They should have called the police. And it was. But you know what joke was really good? None of them. And it was for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
It was
11 minutes of nothing.
I did a joke to begin with. Hey, who's a fan of horse racing? Because I had a Breeders' Cup joke that there was never going to be good. And I can hear
in fucking Hartford,
kind of
Connecticut,
a niche joke.
Yeah.
And you can hear people going, "Who the what horse? What are you doing?
You're in fucking downtown Hartford, Connecticut.
Hey, how about that Breeders' Cup?
Yeah, how about that Breeders' Cup? Yeah, it's not like you're at Saratoga.
Another mint julep, sir?
Yeah. That's awesome. I love your hat, lady.
I have my first time on stage on video cassette.
All right. Yeah. I've got mine on audio and I can't find it. Thank you.
I don't have my first.
It's well, it's not my official first. I shouldn't say that. It's my
Your
second
official
time.
first was
A bullshit night at the Comedy Palace.
At the Comedy Palace.
Yeah, when we lied to the manager to get me on stage because it wasn't their open mic night.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And my first time I booked, it was Monday night, Faneuil Hall, booked the open mic, and Cal Verducci came up and videotaped it and gave me the videotape. And back in the day when you had the big recorder that took the big video cassettes, and I still have it.
I got them in
like
that closet
for Channel 7 News.
In that closet right behind you. I've got videotapes, audio cassettes, and about 1,000 CDs. If anyone's interested in Good Catholic Boy, let me plug that.
I
coasters for sale.
Exactly.
During the pandemic, same thing. All of us started like going through our basements and our attics and stuff like that. And in the basement, I had one of those VCR/DVD players where both were built in. And I plugged it to a TV in the basement. And I was going through my old comedy videos. And I have the one where Santarelli popped his face in.
They're not falling for any of this shit.
Yeah, I'm taping to send it to somebody to try to get a gig, and in the middle of my set, Santarelli's head rises up into the middle of the camera, and he goes, "They're not falling for any of this shit," and he just slides back down on the way and disappears. It's one of the funniest moments ever. And then, I found that one the first time, and I was like, "Oh shit, Faneuil Hall, 2001. Let me pop this in," and I popped it in, and I was like, "Wow." I sucked.
Oh, listen.
But you know what?
I have the video.
Ended on a laugh.
Yeah.
The last joke I did got a laugh.
Mm-hmm.
And not just from the table of 4 people that were friends of mine that came to see me in the front. The room laughed. I watched it and I was like, that was the germ of the idea that got that laugh that made me say, okay, I'm going to another open mic night and working on this a little bit more.
Yeah. And suddenly that grows into like a bigger piece.
Yes,
right. Exactly.
You could
look
see
at the germ of
when
that
I watch
joke.
it now, I can see that moment where I said, I'm going to continue with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I've got so many video cassettes in that fucking closet behind you. It's ridiculous. I have my set from Comedy Central at Periwinkle's when they had the contest in 1993. And I look at it and I'm like, holy shit, how did they air this? But they were so starved. You know, we had Art Bell, one of our first guests this year. We had Art Bell, who was the creator of Comedy Central, on the show.
Really?
And, he was talking about it. They're like, they were just trying to get content. They knew they weren't going to get like Robin Williams and George Carlin to just give them their specials initially.
Or were they fighting with Ha? Like, were there like the two channels at the same time?
So what happened was he said he started the Comedy Channel and then MTV started the Ha Network, and they were competing for each other and they were slugging it out. And finally they ended up merging.
And he figured out this formula where it was almost like music videos where you played 6 to 7 minutes of stand-up of someone's stand-up.
Yeah.
And that's what they would do. They would go to all these different clubs all over the place, record sets, and then they would play clips.
Themes. Yeah.
And they would pick a theme like, making dinner, and they'd get 10 guys that do 5 to 6 minutes on, being terrible chefs, and 5 to 6 guys with marriage jokes.
And that was short attention span theater and stand up.
And I think there's a show that's still on now. I forget what it's called, but I don't even know where you can find it. Yeah, if you're home at like 3:00 in the afternoon, all of a sudden you turn like one of those odd channels that you don't even know you have.
Access.
Yeah.
Well, now that you can't watch Ellen at 3 PM, not that I know that was the time it was on.
3 to 4.
You mentioned Carlin earlier. I've got one. This is my favorite Carlin adjacent story. Back like when we had HBO when I was growing up. So this is Carnegie Hall.
I just watched it the other day because that was the special that made me look at it and go, like, I had seen Bill Cosby, I had heard his albums. Carlin at Carnegie was the one where I sat there and I go, wow, this guy like understands, like everything he's saying is my life.
Yeah.
Like
Robert Klein at Yale was mine.
You gotta watch part 2 of the documentary because there's a big thing about Carlin
at Carnegie. Oh my God. That was so pivotal.
They discuss
in my life.
I don't want to. You got to watch it because they really talk about that being a pivotal moment for him.
Well, because that was also the last time he did kind of observational stuff.
It's for different reasons.
Oh,
but
really?
Yeah.
Because after that,
It was interesting.
Once
It was
he
really
went to
interesting.
Carlin on Campus, which was the next special that he did, and everything after it got more political and kind of preachy.
But they talk about like you can put him into these 4 or 5 different stages of his career,
and that was the end of one stage, right?
And you can see the points with the specials where he moved from this stage to this stage.
Well, because
and
he ended it
to this stage.
Because he ended it with the expansion, and I was in 8th grade when that came out, and I remember my mom got so fucking pissed at me because I put a tape recorder in front of the TV.
Record it
we
just triggered a memory for Howie too.
Just for the expansion of the 7 dirty words. My mother was like, I don't mind that you're listening to it. I'm okay that you're listening, but I don't want you going to school with that cassette of 100 dirty words.
All right. Well, I did the same thing.
Did you?
Where you tape it. You get the little sound mic in front of the speaker of the TV.
Yes.
So anytime I want to hear my mother laugh at the filthiest material possible,
it's the expansion of the 7 dirty words.
And everything else before that.
Oh my God.
And my mom was like this prim and proper person.
Yes.
You have no idea, and she was roaring at them.
And you know what?
At spots where you didn't think your mom would laugh.
I've watched,
and it was so great. I popped that in like about 10 years ago when I found it, and just was so great.
I've watched some of his other specials, and like I watched the one You're All Diseased, and he was like, a lot of the stuff that he said, and I've seen a lot of it taken out of context and put on Facebook to prove a point, and but a lot of what he said was kind of outdated. Because he talks, it's in 1999,
right?
And he talks about how ridiculous airport security is and how we could never get bombed.
Well, he was doing topical stuff.
It was topical stuff, but it was wrong because then 3 years later, in 2001, fucking World Trade Center happened. You know what I mean? And then he talks about, we're so afraid of fucking germs and they're making us afraid of everything and blah blah blah. And people are using that during the pandemic to prove a point. Yet it fucking killed 1 million people.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is because, like you said, some of the stuff he did was dated because it was topical, but yet some of it comes back full circle because his take on pro-lifers.
Oh yeah,
because with the whole Roe v. Wade coming back right now,
right,
has been popping up so much.
But that was his opening joke at Carlin and Carnegie.
Opening line when he says, "You ever notice these pro-life people are people you really wouldn't want to fuck to begin with?"
That was his opening line at Carnegie.
Holy! But then when he goes through the whole thing,
right,
and the line where he goes, "If you're preborn, you're fine. If you're preschool, you're fucked." And you're like, and he makes such a good point with it. And that's when you really see him becoming more political and more prolific than the goofy, I need a place for my stuff guy that he was before, which that stuff was brilliant.
Yeah.
That stuff was brilliant.
Right.
And it's funny because he talks in the documentary about the moment he feels like he found his voice, and we all talk about that. And that's one of the things I was going to ask you earlier when we were talking about writing material. Are you at a point now where when you come up with a new joke idea, you have kind of an idea or an inclination? Yeah, this is probably going to work. Okay. Or I'm not sure, I have to try it, because there are certain ideas I'll come up with where I'm like, yeah, that'll work. That'll work okay.
Right.
And then other ones were like, I'm not sure. I'll just have to try it and see.
Yeah. I had a longer,
because I know how my jokes go.
I had a longer piece, and it's about buying gifts for my wife, which I'm terrible at. But I've been like bouncing it around where I'd throw a couple lines out during a set and just to make sure that it was still terrible. And it was. And
I love when he does that.
But then, like,
self-deprecation.
All of a sudden, I'm like mowing the lawn or something. All of a sudden, it all just kind of hit in sequence.
Yeah,
and
the wording and everything falls together.
And I did a show in Portland, Connecticut, and I've got that. Yeah, you guys seen how I open my set? Where I'm just want to do a show in every city and town in the state of Connecticut, and Portland was I've never thought I was going to be there. Thank you, Winchester Cafe.
Thank you. Yeah, right.
But I did the set in front of like 30 people and 10 comics, and I couldn't have asked for anything it's like, oh, all right, great. Now I got something that I can play with.
Right. Right.
And then there's other things which you're convinced they're going to work, and you're convinced that they're going to be the next 5 minutes, and they end up being 3 sentences
because
and
for
they get boiled
some
down.
reason the concept is funny, and you just can't find the way to say it. Yeah.
Oh, I remember
I hate that. I hate
one
that.
joke I came up with years ago, and I'm like, I know this joke is funny, and every time I did it, the setup would get a laugh. The middle of it got a nice laugh, and I just needed that final line to bring it home, and it fell off.
Yeah.
Everything I tried at the end just kept falling off, and I was working for a whole weekend upstate New York with Stephanie Peters, and we had these great shows at this theater, and the first night I do the joke, and it falls off at the end, and she goes, "Oh, that's not where I thought you were going to go with that." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she goes, "I thought you were going to say," and she said something, and all of a sudden it triggered not exactly
totally
what she
different
said,
thing, right?
But it sent me down a different path. And the next night I said something different, and it did that big climax again that I wanted to get. And I was like,
sometimes that's all it takes is just someone else watching your act and saying, "Have you ever thought of approaching it from this angle?" And it just hits.
Every couple of years, I gotta try out my first car. My first car was a gift from my brother. There's 2 of us in my family. There's me and my brother. My brother is 17 years older than me, and that's it.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So, my parents didn't have him when they were 9, so I'm the mistake.
Yeah, right.
You were the bottle of wine, right?
Yeah. I like to tell my youngest.
Apparently, it's Memorial Day weekend, 1967.
I like to tell my youngest, you weren't a mistake. You were a surprise.
That's what I
still want it.
Exactly. They used to sell me on that bullshit too. So here's my 17 years. So my dad was 50 when I showed up. My dad was 49 and 364 days. I was like 1 day short of his 50th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
right.
he's thinking about retiring. Not so much.
No.
And then my mother, was early 40s, but she was fine with it. She just wanted a girl. It didn't happen.
Lucky you.
And then my brother, who had no idea, wasn't asking for any of this shit. And I was born in 1968. So when he was turning 17. So in 1969, when he turned 18, thanks to me showing up, eligible for the Vietnam draft.
Right.
So there wasn't anyone who
ruined everything.
There wasn't anyone who was really thrilled to see me. So I think the comedy part is I've got to make somebody happy now just to make up for all this work.
Right. And it doesn't work when you talk about it.
No.
Right.
But my first car was a gift from my brother. It was a 1977 Ford Pinto wagon with wood grain contact paper side panels.
Was it green?
No, it was
silver.
White. It was white with a wood grain.
Because my mother had a green one with the wood grain side. So I was having flashbacks when you said
that. And I've been trying to formulate just the idea. It's got to be funny.
How do you make that? Yeah, because it's a funny concept. It's just how do you word it where people will understand it?
It's either a caring gift from one brother to another, or the most elaborate practical joke ever.
Right.
What do you do? And
the issue is
call it Motor Trend's most celibate car of the year, but nothing would work.
You got to be able to compare that to something else to make it work. That would be like giving this to this.
A bomb, that would be like Osama bin Laden giving a bomb to his brother or something like that. You know what I mean? It would happen.
There's a couple of different avenues.
Don't tell Uma what he has on the plane. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Yeah.
Don't tell him.
I booked him on a flight from Portland, Maine to LAX.
Did it blow up? Got him. Got him.
Exactly. Yeah.
That works every time.
We're gonna have a writing session.
Good thing I have 32 other brothers.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, I know the feeling.
Yeah, that'll work at the local VFW.
Oh yeah. No, I've had this. I've had this idea, and I've talked to Scott about it before, and maybe it's because I've tried it at older folks, like elderly audiences, but I've always thought it was so crazy when you would go out with like an elderly relative and they'd be like, you go to Newport Creamery or you go to some restaurant and they go, yeah, I'll have the hamburger and fries and a hot coffee. Like at what age do you hit that nothing is more refreshing to wash down a hamburger than a fucking hot coffee?
I so get that because my grandmother fillet of fish and a hot
and
coffee.
A hot coffee, like right.
There's a no
not
worse
a Coke,
combination than
not
that.
a water, not like what refreshes you to
Your
wash
dental
down.
hygienist is going to hang herself.
Yeah, but it's
There's no worse combination.
It's just the fact that when you're eating a hot meal, you want a cold drink. What makes you want a fucking hot coffee?
And no, for my grandmother, it wasn't even hot coffee. It was a Sanka.
Yeah,
It had to be a Sanka.
But that's the thing. And so I've tried that.
Coffee.
I've tried that joke a couple of times, but I did it. The last time I did it was at Pat Collins 55 plus community, or Tom Stewart or Bob Mello used to book it. It's out in like Middleborough, Mass. Yeah. And I
Cedar Crest Nursing Home.
I said it, and I go
B25,
and they're looking at me like I'm a fucking oil painting, and I'm like, yeah, okay, you guys obviously aren't the audience to do this with, and I haven't done it since. But
you know
it's
what
a
I'm
funny
talking about.
concept.
You know what I'm talking about.
Well, the last show I did, I came out, I did a brand new joke, and I kind of went back in time and I opened up a little bit of a wound for myself because I've been talking about the difference between what we grew up with and what kids now grow up with, the difference between the two. And then I said, but one thing that I wouldn't want to deal with nowadays is bullying. I said, I got bullied as a kid. And I started talking about my experiences
in bullying.
And I told a real story about my bullying. And I'm halfway through telling the story and I'm like, okay, this shit's not funny. I'm telling a real story right now. And I'm looking at
therapy for
and
me.
I'm looking out at the audience and some of these people are looking at like, oh my
They're
God,
crying.
did this really happen to this guy? And I was able to get a laugh at the end of it. And I'm like, all right, maybe I shouldn't have opened up that wound.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe I should have polished that up and found the funny in it a little bit more. Type of thing. But I mean, in a way, afterwards, I was like, I'm glad I tried it anyway and tried to go there and pull that out of it.
Next time I won't start crying 3 minutes in. But,
The whole time I'm like manufacturing a noose with the with the curtains that behind me and everything.
I've also learned a couple lessons too, where you can make horrific jokes about your father and everybody laughs. You make horrific jokes about your mother.
Oh yeah,
no, you don't mess with mama.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And that is so true because I've done the same thing. Because my mother was the one that was the disciplinarian and the religious zealot growing up, and I start to tell stories about her, and you feel everybody pull right back, and they don't laugh.
You don't. But
I talk shit about my father, and they're rolling in the aisles.
Yeah,
they're fine with it because everybody's father was fucking nuts when we were growing up.
Yep. So let me ask you this, because we usually wrap up the show,
and
I know we asked you this probably 4 years ago, but
I'm sure there's been some sense.
I'm sure there's been some sense, especially with a pandemic.
Yeah.
So we always like to end the show with asking our guest about a funny bad gig story, and that's the gig that it wasn't funny the night it happened and made you want to quit comedy.
Yeah.
But as you get further away from it, you start talking to other comics, like you're in the green room and you're like,
not just some of the ones you went tonight, like you were telling, like, oh, that just didn't work, or no, that wasn't.
No, they
funny.
were truly.
No, these
like
were the ones where you
painful.
said, you know what, I'm gonna go back in time, and just quit comedy.
Yeah,
and then like 3-4 weeks later, you're in the green room with a bunch of other comics, and everyone's telling these bad gig stories, and you're like, oh, you think that's bad? Oh, hold on,
you're one up.
I got one for you.
Can I share a couple?
Yes, you may.
All right,
please,
absolutely.
What time does the security come and close this place down?
Listen, it's my fucking house.
Right,
you can stay as long as you want. I got 3 bedrooms.
The
Kids
worst one still hasn't changed. It was a hot air balloon festival in middle of Connecticut.
How can that not work?
I know, exactly.
Did you have to do comedy from a hot air balloon?
That would have been better.
Wait a second.
At least I would have had an escape route.
Item number 13
is a hot air balloon festival.
On it's a bad gig when.
Okay.
Hot air balloon festival.
I'm going to give you 14, 15, and 16.
Okay.
Too.
All right.
So first of all, it was on a July afternoon. So we all know. So it's a outside. So we all know that's a little dicey.
Yep.
Daylight. The stage was between a moon bounce and a fried dough stand.
Oh.
And there was
were they both active at the time?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
And there were no seats in front of the stage. So I'm just getting walking traffic. You know, that's all I'm getting. So people walk by.
What's going on?
Was this a fair or something?
Yeah, it was the hot air balloon festival. So
this is at the festival.
So they have everybody's just waiting for the balloons to take off. But yeah, they have a magician, and someone invited me to do comedy. And I had friends there because I worked one town over, and my kids came, and like it's like, hey, you can see Dad. It's in the afternoon. You can come to the show. It'd be great. You can watch Dad sweat by himself for half an hour.
You did 30 minutes?
30 minutes, and it was brutal. Like people were watching by, and all of a sudden you'd say, I'd be in the middle of a bit going, the Ocean State job lot, and all of a sudden it's like guy would just turn and go, nah, all right, whatever, just keep walking. Like
right.
That sounds like the end of Braveheart.
No one stayed. Yeah, it was
when he's being disemboweled on the table in front of everybody.
The only thing that was a saving grace was I had a show that night, so I got the stink off.
Talk about that. Yeah,
right.
Immediately.
An actual show, right?
So a couple of the newer ones. So this one was actually a fun show. It was me and Billy Wynn.
Yep. Love Billy.
I love Billy.
And Dr. J was
Dr. J,
who loved the man.
Absolutely. So we love him too.
We were at an Italian restaurant in, I want to say, Monroe, Connecticut. And the weird thing about this place was when you walked in the front door, if you took a left, you got to the restaurant. And if you took a right, there was like this little room that was labeled the Warrens Museum of the Occult.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, like Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah. So I guess they had some little room over there. I always thought the museum was at their house.
Restaurant? I thought the museum was at their house.
Yeah,
but I didn't know if they had like some little side thing where they, So anyway, we're doing the show and it's a fundraiser and Billy's doing the raffle. We're doing the raffle. We're having a great time. And he goes, just talk for a couple minutes. I'm going to write the check out like on the big board.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of talking to everybody, and all of a sudden while I'm talking,
Annabelle comes running.
There's a
fucking floating.
I was thinking the same thing. I couldn't think of her name.
There's a light flashing in the corner.
No,
in the corner.
No.
And I'm not a horror movie guy.
Yeah.
So
you think someone's lighting you to get off stage?
I wasn't even on the stage. I was at the back of the room next to the bar. And all of a sudden I said, well, something's going on over there with the light. I think somebody's sending the signals from a boat or something. And I was making some joke. And all of a sudden, one of the servers runs over. She goes, that might be Annabelle. I'm like,
no.
And I'm sorry. She goes, it might be. And so I said, all of a sudden I just go, Annabelle, did you have a good time tonight? And all of a sudden it starts flashing even faster.
No.
And I said to everybody, I said, I think Billy's going to have to finish the show because I just shit myself.
I just shit myself from that fucking story.
And then the servers just came over.
You gotta be kidding me.
The servers came over and talked to me like, yeah, we have like pots that move all the time. They talk like a whole laundry list of shit that happens in that restaurant.
Seriously.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Dude, thank you for doing this.
Fucking
thank
kidding
you for
me.
telling that because Scott shits his pants the entire month of Scottober.
And
he thinks he's safe through the rest of the year until we get to Scottober, and you just scared the shit out of him. I love it. I love it.
I think, and I'm not a big occult guy.
Yeah,
it was just like,
I'm not that big on it either.
And it's just bizarre,
Wow,
and then,
dude.
And then there's going to be one more thing.
The fact that you got a response when you said, "Hey, Annabelle, did you enjoy the show?"
I was making that up.
That's awesome. We got to play that for some of our guests in Scottober.
Yeah,
because we've got some people.
It's the most. Yeah, I wish I was making that up.
I don't know if you listened back in October, but we have people come on, and I've been lining up some pretty cool shit for this week. This year, we're gonna investigate the Payne House,
let's put it this way:
right down the street from here.
Yeah,
it's literally a mile down the street. You're gonna pass by it on the way out.
My good friend,
I can't do it.
Over here is away on vacation one of the weeks of Scottober, and books Tom Stewart to sit in for himself, who used to do paranormal investigations. And they also bring in
Satori Hawes, who is Jason Hawes' daughter,
from Ghost Hunter's daughter, and her boyfriend,
who have a museum of all kinds of fucking artifacts,
of all kinds of haunted shit. And they bring some of it here, right where you're sitting, to fucking show us.
They had a mask. They had like a tribal mask from Africa. They had a doll that they brought. And then they showed Scott a video
on their security camera of the doll moving at 2:30 a.m.
No, thank you.
Pushing herself up.
No.
They can't have other dolls next to this doll because this doll will push those dolls off the shelf.
Yes.
Are you shitting me,
dude? So thank you for bringing up Annabelle, because
I'm sitting here thinking Annabelle when he started telling when he said the Warren Museum.
Scott thought he was going to get away with not having to deal with any scary shit until October, and you just fucking.
What's the name of this
back.
Restaurant?
It'll end with an O, and it was a first.
No,
name.
what's the name of the fucking restaurant? I'm never doing a show there.
I will text it to you when it's in a notebook. It's in a notebook. I know that.
So, I
know it's in Monroe.
That's awesome,
dude. I wouldn't even have said he's gonna have to finish the show because I just shit my pants. I'd be saying that from the parking lot.
Yeah.
I am. So this the other story I was going to tell. Can't beat that one. So you just want to kill it here?
No. Because that wasn't a funny bad gig story. That was you made Scott shit his pants. In the studio
that was a
story.
Scott shit his pants story.
Holy shit!
So this was a bad gig that was kind of a life changer, because I don't know what you guys have for like pre-show habits.
Yeah.
But I can't eat before a show. I can't eat at all. So when I drive home, it's just an avalanche of just a convenience store, 2 candy bars, a bag of pretzels, a couple of Coke. It's like I'm like 9 and I'm staying up late. And
right.
So there was this January a few years ago. I was having a good run of like a lot of shows, which meant I was really treating my body great on every ride home. It was just my car. I used to have like the bag of shame in my back seat, which is all candy wrappers and garbage.
All this shit.
So I'm doing we're doing a project graduation fundraiser. It's a clean show. We're I think a high school in Southeast Connecticut, and it's me and Darren Seacrest and Rodney.
Rodney Norman.
And we're in an auditorium that fits 400 people.
Yep.
Which would have been great if it wasn't 45 people spread out
among the 400 seats. Yeah,
maybe
that's the
3
worst.
people here, 4 people, 2 over here.
Worst.
And they were smilers.
Oh yeah. They don't laugh. They
yeah.
smile.
So Rodney went on before me, and I don't have the gift that Rodney does.
Yeah.
You know, he was just here. You know, Rodney can just be in the moment. Rodney did 10 minutes flat on his back because he just felt like it. Like,
yeah.
It's like, you know what? If you're not going to give me anything, we're going to try this for a while and see if I can get you with this.
I'm just going to lay on my back for 5-10 minutes.
And he makes it work.
Yeah, and he makes it
awesome.
work. Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I go up, and of course I need to be loved. So like, you know, you didn't like that joke, or you're gonna like this joke? Well, you didn't like this one, but maybe like you're gonna love this one because everybody likes this one. And like in my head, I'm like, all right, they're gonna love this next one. Just stay, you know. And by the end, like by 45 minutes, like, all right, you hated all of them. Awesome.
Right.
So after 45 minutes, the last thing I needed to hear when I went into the lobby was these 5 words: "We're having a bake sale." So.
All right, I guess we could add that to the list. Bake sales. Yeah.
And I gave them, I think, a 5 or a 10, and I said, how much can I get for this many? And they said, we're just going to throw this stuff out. And I said, I'll get the car. And I just
you just took everything for whatever how much was left.
And the ride
you
home,
had to buy your guilt away.
And you just
the ride home was like an orgy of saran wrap and Ziploc
brownies
bags.
and Rice Krispie
I don't
treats.
even know what was in there. There was some M&Ms and something because like there was like 2 of them in my pocket. It was awful.
Yeah.
He was pulling the condoms off his bad jokes and stuffing them down his soul on the ride home.
Sugar coma on the way home. And
awesome.
then I stepped on a scale that next morning.
Yeah,
and that's
bad
the
idea.
biggest number I've ever seen in my life.
You gained 5 pounds on that ride home.
And we've changed some behaviors. So yeah.
That's awesome.
All of my hate is now it's more mental, and I don't chew it.
Yeah, that was not the morning to try the scale. That was
that's hilarious. Oh my god.
We there's some bad eating habits when you're done.
We all do that.
So many comedians though don't eat before shows, and I worked
binge after.
I worked with guys like City Steam was always very kind and always fed us very well.
Yeah.
And I worked with so many guys that would get it to go, and they would have their dinners and these nice big desserts, and they're leaving after the late show on Saturday and bringing that back to their hotel to eat before they went to bed. And I'm like, oh, I can't. I just can't do that. That's that would kill me. I'd rather just skip it at that point.
Exactly.
And than eat like that.
But a lot of times I won't eat before a show because like especially like if I'm doing a Steam gig up in New Hampshire, I won't eat before. I'll drive up. I'll go, I'll do the show, and then all of a sudden I'm fucking starving, and it's
but then we usually choose shit for the ride home.
10 o'clock, yeah. So then you're going through a Wendy's drive-through or a McDonald's,
or like you said, a convenience store, get
or
a bag of pretzels, M&Ms, and other shit,
and it's so bad you feel like shit.
Or a Stuckey's on 95 off of exit 93 in about 45 minutes from now.
That's
I'm not going to judge a Stuckey's. That's not a bad choice, right there.
I'm not going to judge. I don't judge.
All right, you had me with the Warren Museum, so I'm still not getting past that.
I love that we're mid-year through and you just freak the fuck out of Scott. I love it.
Fucking June, and I got to deal with this shit.
But you know what? We got to give a shout out to Tom Stewart real quick because he gave a shout out to our podcast. On his.
You know, we and it's not a joke that I that stuff scares the hell out of me, but the paranormal stuff is very interesting. And if you like real stories from paranormal investigations, paranormal experiences, our buddy Tom Stewart has a podcast called My Paranormal Story. They're all real experiences he's had, where, and some of his older episodes, he provides the evidence that he has gathered in those investigations that he's done. And he's a great storyteller. He puts together a great podcast, and they're nice, quick hits.
They're 20 minutes.
They're all 20, 25 minutes long, and they're great stories. So definitely check.
You know
him
what's
out.
Interesting is he thought he was out of stories, and then all of a sudden he's reminded of other stories. Like his newest episode where he gave us a shout out is a new story, and it's a fantastic story. I'm like, dude, I called him. I was like, how did you forget that? Like, how did you not realize that was a great
I know
story?
6 months ago, he's like, I don't think I have any more stories. And then he pulls this one now.
Because he really wants to try and keep it organic and just give his stories and not other people's stories. Because he does have a separate podcast of like famous Hollywood ghost stories.
Yes, celebrities and famous people that have had paranormal experiences.
So he does that, but his is just his experiences.
Yeah.
And it's weird how like all of a sudden you start talking about it and you start realizing like, oh shit, I have another story. And this most recent one, The Silence, is a really, really good episode. So
it's excellent. Definitely check it out if you're into that type of stuff. I don't listen.
Well, but here we go, folks, because guess what? We are going to be going to the Payne House, which is 1 mile down the road. So Howie, when you take a left out of my street and go down the end of the street, right across from the old fire station on your right is the Payne House on the left. And it is a historic place. It's on the historic registry, but it also is one of the most haunted places.
One of those most
Rhode
active
Island.
Paranormal places in Rhode Island.
And we've had Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal, who has invited us to come and investigate. And we are going to be investigating there this summer. And then we're going to use that as an episode in Scottober. And I just found out.
I'm going to go there at noon. It's kind of nice and bright.
No. We will be there at 10 p.m.
Ace totally tricked me.
I said, hey, are you available on this date?
Now, Howie,
a comedy gig.
If I reached out to you and said, hey, are you available on this date? What are you thinking?
Yeah, there's a show coming.
Comedy show.
Thank you.
No.
And then I said,
he goes, yes.
And he goes, okay. Payne House investigation. I'm like, you father mucker.
Not for that. Yeah.
So here's the other thing, though. What Scotty doesn't realize is there's a new owner of the Conjuring House.
I know there's a new owner of the Conjuring
They just
House.
bought it, and they are going to be opening it up to even more investigations. And our friend Ken DaCosta from Rise Up Paranormal is very linked in with them. So we're going to do an investigation at the Conjuring House too.
How liquored up are you going to be for that?
He said one word wrong. He said we.
And I think we should do one at the Bradley Playhouse because we've talked about.
I told you, anytime you want to do one there.
We want. Well,
season one.
I'll reach out to Kent. I'll reach out to Ken.
He can come with us, and we'll do an investigation there. They were on Ghost Hunters first season.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
And we had Jason on last season too.
And you're going to be in the Payne House with like one of those hats on, but you're going to have like the Jeffersons on each side with a straw coming in just to take care of yourself.
Dude, I'm going to have 2 bottles before I get there.
It's in a backpack.
Yeah. He's going to have to carry me in. Hey,
like one of those Indy 500 drivers where it's just going to be like a straw inside your helmet.
I'm going to be wearing
Folks,
2 pairs of Depends.
I know we're only into June, but this Scottober is going to be amazing. It gets better and better.
I already know
year.
one of his guests too.
Every year. Well, we're bringing Satori and Cody back.
And I love both of them.
Yeah,
I do love both of them.
They were fantastic,
but they don't need to bring any shit with them.
No, I want them because I missed them last year. So I want them to come
you really
down.
missed them.
I won't.
As you're drunken texting us from Florida. Fucking asshole.
I know. Well, listen, Howie, what can we promote for you though?
It just you know what, if you're gonna be I don't know when this is going on, but
it'll be out next Thursday. So
17th, like 2 weeks from tonight, which is what the 16th.
Yep.
Shelburne Falls, Mass. I'll be at Floodwater Brewing.
Oh, all right.
Nice.
And then the 17th is now open. So if anybody's got anything, Howie Mason Facebook, just yell at me. I need attention, so please. And then the Thursday after that, which is the 16 plus 23rd, Winstead, Connecticut, Second Home Cafe. As you can tell, I'm playing just really big rooms.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Listen,
Howie, you stay busy, and I would definitely follow Howie on Facebook.
Hey, can I mention one more thing? I should have promoted, and this is something that's I probably should have mentioned to you guys beforehand. We've got a kind of a comedy brother of ours who's hit some tough spots. So if there's an Artie Rob GoFundMe, he's run into some health issues. So
I didn't know that.
If you've got any listener,
Artie Rob,
all the listeners out here, he's one of the best comics in New England. I know he's worked nationally.
Yeah.
Ran into a bit of a health issue. So if there's any way that you can reach out to, there's a GoFundMe page. And it's on John Moses. John Moses, I think.
Okay. I will put a link to that in today's show notes. So anybody listening, go to the show notes. Artie Rob has helped out a lot of comics in New England.
He's a Western Mass guy.
He helped out Philip Anthony. Yeah. Philip talks about him all the time.
Yeah.
Dr. J, our good friend Dr. J, who we miss a ton, talked about Artie all the time.
I worked with him New Year's Day, and we had a conversation for 20 minutes, and I felt like I was a better comic after that conversation.
I was blessed to work with him only a couple of times.
I never got to work with him.
I've only worked with him 3 times, and every time I've enjoyed it. He's just
the whole theme of it was just, you dictate the energy doesn't get dictated to you. And the room's like, it's like, why didn't I just, and now I think about that every time I walk into a building.
That. Yeah.
And the guy he's awesome. He's a great guy. Yeah. So but he's run into a spot. So if anybody who can lend a hand, it would be greatly appreciated. Just a really good dude.
So check out today's show notes. There's going to be 2 links. One to Howie's Facebook page. Please follow Howie, and if you have a chance to see him, you got to go see him.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to be on several shows with him. He is definitely one of the funniest comics I've ever worked with. Absolutely hilarious. And Artie Rob is another guy who hilarious comedian, like how he said, in a tough spot right now. Skip your latte at Starbucks tomorrow. Throw a couple of bucks in there to help a guy out. Unfortunately,
every little bit will help.
Yeah, every little bit will help. And comedians, unfortunately, literally have the world's worst health plan.
Yeah.
So
unless they have a day job, which many do not.
No, Artie's a comic, so he really has no health plan.
They don't have a health plan, so they really rely on the help of people who enjoy their comedy.
Yeah. So skip your latte one day, throw that $5 on there to help the guy out. I mean, if 100 of you guys do that, if 1,000 of you guys do that, it makes a difference in this one guy's life. And let's pay it forward to somebody. That's all we can ask. So
absolutely,
we appreciate that. And Howie, thank you again, man.
Thanks for having me so
much fun.
Thanks for coming.
Great seeing you guys.
Anytime.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. And if you want to help out a couple of comics that do a podcast out of a basement, the Acement, we will be doing Behind the Funny live in August.
That's right.
At the Comedy Park in Cranston. So we would love to have some of you that listen, some of you that watch the show, come see us live. We want to meet you. We're going to do some giveaways during the show. We got 2 amazing guests, 2 different guests, one Friday, one Saturday. Our good friend Brian Vincent, aka Grandma Martha, is going to be there on one of the shows. And then we had
Nick Albanese.
Nick Albanese, who And he's going to be doing his one-man show there in a couple of weeks, so we can talk to him about that. So you're going to see half the show is going to be live comedy, half the show is going to be a live podcast. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You just come out and support us live. Have a great evening. Have a good time. We'd love to see you there. But check out any of the shows at the Comedy Park, thecomedypark.com.
Yeah, they're going to be having ticket sales up pretty soon. So check that out. And other than that,
we'll talk to you
next week.